If you've hopped into universe mode and set up all your fun storylines and dream matches and played them all out, but are at a point where you don't have anything left to do, no new ideas, then let me help you out showing you how to set up amazing random heel and face turns to really spice up your universe mode and have a lot more fun. Let's hop into it. So to keep it realistic, what I like to do is pick usually about 2 either superstars, tag teams, factions that change to either a face or a heel for that year. You can do more or less depending on what you're really looking for, but 2 seems to be realistic what WWE does every single year. So with that, there's 3 different ways I like to choose who is going to turn face or heel. One way is randomly selecting from my roster. What I usually do is I list out my entire roster, choose randomly, or put everyone onto a wheel and do it that way, so it's very random and create some chaos. Way number 2 is really to decide through a match. Usually when there's a huge match coming up, like a championship match or a number one contenders match for a championship, whoever the loser is ends up turning heel, and whoever wins that match, creating some more chaos. The third way is if you have a struggling tag team or faction, you can either have the entire tag team or faction or just one superstar from that tag team or faction turn heel or face. This is a great way to really push one superstar over or push a tag team or faction really up, win them some championships with a big turning face or heel. So next up, now that we have who we're going to turn face or heel, we have to know how to book them. So it's great always thinking about who's going to turn and all the amazing rivalries you can have with them, but to really make it all make sense, the first thing you have to do in booking them is figure out the why. Why did they turn face or heel? Why did it all happen? And you really got to slowly build in that character change. So for an example, if you, let's say you have a top face, like a Cody Rhodes type, who's beloved by all the fans, the top baby face in the company, but maybe over time, a new top face is getting more of a reaction, and you can closely see some jealousy within their actions over the span of like a month or 2 months, and it leads to this jealousy making them turn heel for a big rivalry against that new top face. Or for an example, maybe there's a toxic tag team or faction that continues over time to really blame and gang up on a specific member, and over time you can see them being frustrated, and it leads to them becoming this heroic character and standing up for themselves when they have let's say a face turn for this example. It's understanding the why and building into it before that big moment happens. So now you know your why. The second part of booking is having that great big face or heel turn moment. And the best way to do that is with rivalry actions. I know they can be hit or miss sometimes, but for heel turns and face turns, they're actually great because there's many possible actions you can use to really make your story make sense. For example, if you're having like this big shock heel turn on an ally, tag team member, or faction member, 3 great ones that I personally like to use are the post-match betrayal, ringside DQ and brawl, and the post-match kendo attack options. They're all different, all can tell stories in little different ways, and they're really great to show a betrayal. But they also work for a superstar who's standing up for himself against a heel, ally, tag team, or faction member, like that idea we talked about a minute ago. It's also a great way to show they're standing up for themselves and they're going on the aggressive side to really have that face turn, get that huge pop from the crowd, that kind of thing. So make sure you take a look at all the rivalry actions. There's a lot more you can use as well, but those are the 3 big ones that I like. So now the third aspect of booking these big heel and face turns is now the follow-up after the big moment. The big moment's great and all, but you need what happens next to really make sense and continue to bring out these rivalries with great storytelling. So what I like to do is after this is continue to use rivalry actions to really follow up that big moment, and a great way to tell the story. And the first way I like to do this is through a promo during the following week. It makes a lot of sense. Obviously, you had the big moment. Now the superstar who turns heel or face comes out for a promo, gives a little more of an explanation of why they did what they did the following week with that big moment. But don't forget to continue to tell the story after that by continuing to use rivalry actions. A heel turn can allow you to use those distractions and attacks in the following weeks on whoever they turned on, their future opponents, to really show that their heated feud that caused the superstar to turn heel is really showing that character change with these distractions and attacks. They become more cowardly. For a face turn, you can maybe instead use the sportsmanship and teamwork rivalry actions as a way to really show their change in character with their future opponents and future allies as their, that face, that character change to a face. So make sure you use those rivalry actions, as that's when it becomes very different on which ones you use if it's a face turn versus a heel turn. So with face and heel turns, you also see some gimmick changes a lot of the times. So when superstars, they turn heel or face, the change isn't really drastic with their character. Recently, think about how like Rhea Ripley, Damian Priest, Roman Reigns, they all changed into faces, but they didn't change their look or catchphrases very much. In their cases, it was more of an attitude shift, the things we just talked about, how the follow-up, the rivalry actions you'd used. But in other cases, think about like Jey Uso, when he had his face turned out of the bloodline. He traded out the black and red bloodlines color scheme for the light blue and white and embraced the yeet. So when changing a superstar into a heel or face, think about how much you currently like their gimmick, and if you like the gimmick, does it really make sense for their new values? So once you've thought about those two things, now you have a better idea of that gimmick for your superstar after their heel or face turn. Does anything need to be changed? Does their ring gear feel on brand enough to keep, but maybe just the color scheme needs to be changed for their new identity? Or does everything need to be changed? Does their branding, ring gear, catchphrases, all that need to be changed for their new identity? If it's more just wanting to change their color scheme to match their new identity, it's really easy to do. Just edit the superstar in game. You can change the colors of all their clothing and all that really quickly. It takes less than 2 minutes. Go ahead and do that. But if you're looking to change everything about the identity, there's a few options for you. Firstly, you can just go edit the superstar and see what generic kind of clothing options there are that make sense and color scheme it that way. But if you want to take a little bit more time to really fixate on this current character, you have a couple more options, one of which is what I like to do. I'll go into community creations and I'll put in for the keyword CAW or indie, and I'll see what superstars are up there on the community creations, because there's a lot of fake superstars that people make for their own cause with great attires, or indie wrestlers in real life who I just never heard of who have great attires that makes sense for whoever I'm going to have for the heel or face turn. So you can just download those superstars and copy over whatever they have. Another way is also maybe looking up different logos, searching up logos online and trying to incorporate them into your own basic ring gear in game. That takes a little more effort though, a lot of searching, so it's a little tough. I go the way the community creations most of the time, it makes just more sense for the time management for what I'm looking to do. But also, when it comes to this or any of the other tips we've already talked about, don't be afraid to go on ChatGPT and ask it for a little bit of help. I'm a big ChatGPT guy for generating ideas, not taking everything it says, but if you need some quick help with a thought or two, use it to field some new ideas. It's great for that and really gives you some new ideas to really bounce off of it and make your universe mode a lot more fun and helps you out with these heel and face turns. So now I've walked you through all the tips to really build a heel or face turn out for a story. Let's put it all together, and I'm going to show you an example of how I'm going to turn Cody Rhodes into a heel with all these tips to really give you a better idea of how to put it all together. So in starting off this heel idea, we got to go back to what I started with, and that is the why. Why is Cody Rhodes going to turn heel in this situation? So Cody Rhodes has been the top babyface for a few years now, but I think it's time for a change. LA Knight's gotten really over, and I think I want to push him as the top new guy now. So what's going to happen is, I talked about a jealousy angle a little while back in this video. We're going to run that with Cody Rhodes. He's going to be jealous of not being cheered as the #1 guy, and it's going to lead him to turning heel on LA Knight. Alright, so as it goes for Cody's gimmick, I like the American Nightmare, and I think it fits the heel theme. Overall, the color scheme is where I get a little bit, wanting to change up a bit. So I think overall the ring gear itself looks good. I don't really have an issue with the look of it. It's just the color scheme and personally the hair color. So when it comes to the clothing, I think what we're going to do is we're going to change up to maybe a blackish sort of theme, black and gray. I'm not some big wrestling knowledge guy. I know Cody, I believe on the indies, went with more of a black and gray kind of theme. So I think this is a cool little idea to pay like an homage to the indies. Because when you think about how he left WWE, it felt as if he was like not getting over with the fans anymore. So for this story, since it's going to be him being passed up in the fans' eyes for a new top face, I think going back to that black is a very similar kind of paying the homage to how he left and the reasoning behind it, and why he's turning heel for the same reason kind of in this case. Okay, so I chose black for the first three and then gray for the second. I think it looks pretty good. So for the boots, I also went that black and gray, but I actually decided to leave the American Nightmare logo. It adds a cool little splash of color where it still tells you this is Cody Rhodes and his branding, but it keeps it with that black and gray concept to go along with his tights. Also, one thing is I decided to actually keep his hair color blonde. I was originally going to go back to that dark brown of his natural color, but for some reason I felt like the blonde actually looked better. It might just be an in-game thing where it looks better, but overall I think it's still a cool touch. So what I want to do with the storyline is basically I'm going to have Cody Rhodes and LA Knight both be chasing the world title. LA Knight's going to get a big win. It's going to get the crowd reaction they want, where he's really over ahead of Cody Rhodes. It's going to cause some jealousy to happen. And the following week, Cody and LA Knight are going to have a tag team match against Drew McIntyre and someone else. And you're going to see a little bit of friction between Cody and LA Knight, where you kind of can see that Cody jealousy being worked out on the weekly show. And then the following week, LA Knight's going to have another singles match heading for that world title. But Cody Rhodes is upset about LA Knight getting the win in the tag team match, getting that pin, so he's going to come out and attack LA Knight after his match with the kendo stick attack I talked about earlier as a good way to really show that heel turn big moment. And after that big moment, you want to continue with promos and distractions from Cody to really show this heel turn, which will presumably lead eventually to a match versus LA Knight, where the winner goes on to face off for the world title, but maybe the loser sticks around, extends this feud and rivalry even further post heel turn, and maybe eventually gets to a triple threat match, maybe another one-on-one match, that kind of thing. Just really push that storyline, because the big turn shouldn't be the end of the storyline. It's really just the beginning. And that's how you can take all these tips to turn someone heel, in this case Cody Rhodes. If you have any other questions, drop them in the comments below. Any other tips that I did not include in this video, drop them in the comments below. Make sure to like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys next time.